So I proved that in some strange way, I'm the exponential business that they talk about with AI, and I did it with no AI. I did it. Jeanne's manual, we joke about it. Jeanne's manual AI to be an exponential business, because the exponential business is that, oh, people are going to make millions just with 2 people with AI. I did it without the AI because I'm that person that does everything like the hard way, but it worked. And people were like, wow, I want to learn that. I want to learn. I don't like the funnels and the ads and all the hype and So again, I'm not against ads because you need ads at a certain level, but you have to have a budget and you have to have the understanding. I'm okay. It's like gambling or investing. I'm okay if I lose that money. You shouldn't be investing money that if you lost it, it's going to ruin your life. You shouldn't be investing, right? So that's the way I did it. So
I love it.
I only do ads now
is
because if it doesn't work, it's not going to ruin me. I'm developing, testing, and some have and some haven't. But they don't work as well as organic, that's for sure.
Welcome back to the Money, Mindset, and Mentoring Podcast. We have Jeanne Omlor here. She is a business strategist and a business coach. She helps people, businesses, companies grow and scale. And Jeanne, I'm so happy to have you here, and let's talk business.
So great to be here, Steve.
So we had a couple of times where we went to go connect, and I think the last time we went to connect is when I crashed my Tesla. And I said, help, I'm sorry, we got to reschedule. So thank you for shifting your schedule and getting on the show today.
Oh, not at all. I think stuff happens, right?
And I think we're both fellow Tesla lovers as well, too.
Oh, yeah. We just figured that out a few minutes ago in the green room, as we say. I love that because I was an actress, so we did talk about the green room.
Did you have any specific demands, like the blue M&Ms or anything like that? Or?
Oh, no, I wasn't that high level. It was like, could I please just have heating? Actually, it's so funny. I was in a film once, and there were a bunch of guys on the set with me, and I had to share a dressing room with the guys, and the guys had to leave the dressing room for me to, it was not appropriate. And one of the stars actually went and complained and said, she needs her own dressing room. You cannot. And they did it. They gave me my own dressing room.
Oh, there you go. See,
yes,
you're bougie enough that you got your own dressing room. There we go.
Yeah.
That's a milestone. Yeah. So let's for people to get to know you, just share me a little bit about yourself so we can kind of build a baseline here.
I'm a solo parent. I have two daughters. One's 16, one is 13. I would say that my major and main occupation in my life is being a mom, which a lot of people, try to shift to the side, and that's it really, right? It's one of my purposes in life is to bring them up well. And the other thing I do is, of course, I love my business. I'm passionate about my business. I have 3 babies, my 2 kids in the business. And sometimes I tell my kids, you know what? I'm actually almost as happy that my clients are doing well as you guys. And they're like, Mom. So what I do is I help coaches and consultants and certain online service providers to maximize their sales with high ticket offers online with no ads, tech, or complications.
Beautiful. That's nice and concise. So let's talk a little bit about breaking that out and what does that look like?
Okay. So what it looks like is doing things as simply as possible. And I'm big about the one thing. So what it is like getting to the core of what is your offer? Who are you serving? Why is it, what are you really good at? And why would people pay you for that? And what's the value? So it is not what can I do so people pay me? It's what can I create that's so amazing and really solve such a problem that people are like, yes, I will take that. And that's the first problem sorted out. And I work with my clients on that. And then how do you get clients? Well, there's only a couple ways. There's unpaid or paid. Now, paid advertising is great. I don't mind paid advertising. I've started it myself. I spent a lot of money with paid advertising. However, you need to have a big budget for that. And you need to have the grit, resilience, and you need to have the understanding you're going to lose money. You have to have the understanding that I have a budget to lose money on ads. That's part of the process, is losing money on the ads. So if you don't have that mindset and you think it's a magic wand or you're going to just, turn on ads, I've heard people say that and I laugh every time they say I'm turning on ads. I'm like, uh-oh, da-na-na-na. There's the Jaws music playing in the background for me when I hear that. I'm like, no. So there's paid and unpaid. I'm the expert at the organic, which is the unpaid. When I got online 4.5 years ago, I was in deep debt, single mom, broke. What am I going to do? And I thought I better get online. And I actually joined a program, plonked down three more credit cards, 10 more K. And they were supposed to teach me ads. And in about a minute, I realized, oh no, I can't do ads. This is not going to work. And they said, well, no, it's not going to work. I said, yeah, I paid you 10K. So what are we going to do here? And they said, well, you have to do organic marketing. And I said, what's that? Like carrots? I literally said that. What? I didn't even know what I was so not sophisticated about online marketing 4.5 years ago. And they said, no, Jeanne, not like organic carrots. I said, well, what is it then? And they said, just go talk to people. Go talk to people. 4 words of coaching. And I thought, okay, that's all I get. It's 4 words. Okay, what am I going to do with those 4 words? I'll tell you, if I'm not resourceful, I'm nothing. Okay, so I thought, well, I got to figure out how to talk to people, and I did. I thought this has to work. And I started figuring out how to talk to people online as opposed to offline, because I was good at that, and how to get people to understand what I do and the value of it, and to start getting high ticket clients. And I did. And on the 8th week, I got my first high ticket client, and my kids and I danced around the house and cried because it was a lot of work. I had already been through 900 conversations in Facebook Messenger and 18 sales calls to get to that point on those 8 weeks. So you got to be gritty. And I did the volume, and I was really a lot of market research. And I thought it was amazing that we can do market research like this, because we used to have to do focus groups. So I got on, and then from there, it was just snowball effect. People were like, oh my gosh, that's so simple how you're doing that. And it's about simplicity, the one thing, and not a billion things because some big, influencer is doing billion things. And I know my place. That's one thing about me. I thought, you know what? I'm not a big influencer right now. So I'm going to figure this out simply as Jeanne Omlor and help other people who are just normal people. Well, maybe I'm not so normal, but not like
the debate's out on that.
Debate, yeah, that's right. But just everyday people, let's just say, because I'm not a genius. I'm not, and I know nothing. I mean, I'm terrible at tech. Let's face it. I've learned a lot in 4.5 years. I've come a long way, but I should have a T-shirt that says "least likely to succeed online" written all over it, because this is not like a prime candidate, right? 54-year-old woman, deep debt, knows nothing about tech, blah, 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 getting online, didn't know what organic marketing was. And so my message is that anyone can do this. Anyone, if you're a coach and you're good at something, good, that's taken care of. How do you get your message online? How do you attract clients simply? And that is the solution I've solved.
Nice.
Right there.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people, they'll run into these hurdles, and I hear this all the time, and I'm going to pick on the age category for a minute in saying that, I'm in the over 40, the over 50, the over 60 crowd. I can't pick up technology. And you hear that a lot. And I think this year is one of those years, especially with the advent of AI. And I know last year was a big thing, but I think going into this year, we're going to see it even more propagate into every aspect of our lives. And because you're hearing it from everybody AI, and the idea that what you're saying is you were able to overcome the idea that I'm over a certain age category. I'm not going to put up those mental barriers, but I'm actually going to say I'm committed to learning.
Yes.
And, where we look at children, we're always the best learners. I mean, you think about it, the risk that a child takes to go from crawling to walking, I mean, that's a massive shift in learning. And they do it in such a short period of time. Because they haven't learned these bad habits that we do as adults when we are trying to learn something. We put up all these barriers. As you and I both know, as we're coaching or teaching somebody, half of it or 3/4 of it isn't the content, but it's breaking the barriers that people have so that they're willing to learn. So it's creating that willingness to learn rather than actually, then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to learn the content. But you
100%.
first have to start off with a willing to learn. So what did you do to break that barrier of saying that you're willing to learn technology and get online?
Well, actually, what I did was, necessity is the mother of invention. I figured out, because I'm a lateral thinker. Remember the lateral thinking? Remember those books? I'm actually a lateral thinker. My thing was, okay, I'm not great at all those funnels and all that. I'm not doing them. I won't do them. So what do? I talk to people simply online, and I get them in a conversation, and they say yes, and I get them on a sales call and they say yes, and there you have it. People are like, wow, no funnels. Of course I'm doing ads now. I'm always testing ads now. I want a bigger boat, right? Let's face it. I want another marketing avenue. You want to get more marketing avenues when you want to grow to 10 million, right? So it was, okay, excuse me. It was, what can I do? Now, let's be real. I couldn't do much. I didn't even know how to use Zoom. And one of my colleagues had to make a Loom video to show me how to use Zoom. And they
So you
said to
Loom to
me,
Zoom.
can you get on Loom? I said, I think I could do that to watch this. Yeah, I could click on that. And he was laughing. He said, I have not seen somebody as tech challenged as you in a long time. I said, okay. So I'm letting you know that I had to get a Loom video made to show me how to use Zoom. So I didn't even know how to use Zoom. But I thought, well, I could do that. Okay. So it wasn't like learned helplessness. It's like, I need to learn this while I'm learning how to do the marketing at the same time. So I thought, well, how do I do this as simply as possible? Now, the fact that I'm asking the question to myself or of myself, how do I do this as simply as possible? I'm solving that problem for a bunch of other people. Okay. And that's what I meant. I solved it for myself. And people were like, well, that is so simple. Wow. And you made $1 million in 17 months doing that? I said, yeah. 17 months, $1 million when I first started. I was doing all of my content, sales, creating content for my program because I was learning stuff, getting coaching. Okay. All the communicate, everything except for I had a VA for some of those months doing a couple hours, every day, just here and there. And then it was more. But I was on a roll and I thought, no, I can sustain, I couldn't do all of that now. But, and they were like, wait, you, no funnels, no people building your funnels, no sales, nope, you're doing everything. And they're like, wow. So I proved that in some strange way, I'm the exponential business that they talk about with AI. And I did it with no AI. I did it. Jeanne's manual, we joke about it. Jeanne's manual AI to be an exponential business, because the exponential business is that, oh, people are going to make millions just with 2 people with AI. I did it without the AI because I'm that person that does everything like the hard way, but it worked. And people were like, wow, I want to learn that. I want to learn. I don't like the funnels and the ads and all the hype and So again, I'm not against ads because you need ads at a certain level, but you have to have a budget and you have to have the understanding. I'm okay. It's like gambling or investing. I'm okay if I lose that money. You shouldn't be investing money that if you lost it, it's going to ruin your life. You shouldn't be investing, right? So that's the way I did it. So
I love it.
I only do
what
ads
you did
now
is
because if it doesn't work, it's not going to ruin me. I'm developing, testing, and some have and some haven't. But they don't work as well as organic, that's for sure.
the thing what you did is you took something that's a very simple concept and then said, I'm going to try this simple concept, and then committed to doing it. I think, see, the thing is the concept is simple, but the actual activity itself is very simple, but the committing to do the activity, that's the difficult part. Because what I find is a lot of people, they want to succeed, but then, their want to succeed is less than their desire to not succeed because they're not committed. And so the idea of breaking through the barrier, where you talk about necessity as the mother of all invention or whatever, is that the necessity created that. The challenge that I find with a lot of people who are in the middle class kind of a situation is that, I had this guy, his name was Nick Shelton, who's on the show. Super great guy. He wrote a book called The Introvert's Guide to World Domination. What a great book. What a great title. And what he said is, when he started going through his story, everybody always has these, and he opened this, he said, all these people always have massive stories. I came from, I was living in Africa under a rock and my parents would beat me and all these things. And then I worked so hard to get out of that to this, where I am today. He's like, that's not my story. My story is I lived in middle America. My parents were middle income. And, I went out of a middle class kind of thing to get to where I am today.
Yes.
And I'm like, I think your story is actually more powerful. And here's why. Because the person who has the story from massive adversity, who came out of massive trauma, who came out of horrible situations, if they would have stayed in that situation, that would have left them in massive debt or massive, trauma or whatever it would have been. They got to get out. Necessity pushed them. For him, he lived in a good situation. But I think what's more dangerous than trauma is living in something that's perceived as comfortable when actually it's killing you.
Exactly.
And so the idea of the middle class and the middle class idea is that good is the enemy of great. And so once you got to that situation that you were comfortable, and I see, in our conversations, you're always looking up. So the idea is to say, how do we get out of comfort and get into greatness?
It is about desire and motivation. And
Mhm.
it's interesting that you say that's so aligned with what I talk about, is everything is hard.
Mhm.
Everything's hard. If people say it's easy, they're wrong. It's not. Being overweight is very hard to be overweight. It's also very hard to go on a diet and lose that weight. So you choose your hard.
I
Now,
love that.
you
I love
choose
that.
your hard. It's going to be hard. Okay. But it doesn't have to be unpleasant and you're dying. I mean, I want to help my clients do it as effortlessly as possible and get help so they didn't have to go through exactly what I went through. And, some of my clients are like, this is a game changer that I can even ask you questions and there's no support. So you're correct. I can tell somebody, hey, go do that. But if they're emotionally not mastering their emotions around the fear and the fears, we work a lot on mastering emotions in my program and also money, power, and embodiment. We work on all that. Apart from the strategy, you need both. However, there's two types of
Mhm.
people. A lot of types, but this is Jeanne Omlor's two types of people in entrepreneurship. There's number one, the person that says, oh, I want all that. I want $1,000,000. Yes, that's what I want. And they get all juicy about it. Yeah. I'm like, what do you want? I always ask people, what do you want? I want this. Great. Let's dream. Yeah, that's what we want. And let's raise that. Love it. Huge, audacious goals. Beautiful. Got it. Then this was the two types come in. There's the people that will say what they want, but are not prepared to do what it takes to get it. Now, those people
Mm.
can turn into those people into, I've turned into that. Like, it's not like, well, you're in hell, but you've got to be aware of what type you are and where you are. You've got to know self-awareness. Where do I fall in that? Now, what's the worst thing is the people that say they want something and they're not willing to do it. Okay. But they're
Mhm.
not aware they're not willing to do it. And their life is one big limbo because it's this unclosed loop of, I really want that, but they're never going to get it because they're not prepared. Those people should really look deep and ask themselves, am I willing to do whatever it takes? If the answer is no, give it up and have a good, comfortable, whatever life you want. No judgment, by the way. Now, there's the other type of person that says, I want all that. Yes, this, and they are prepared to do what it takes to get that if it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical. Those are my three caveats, whatever it takes, apart from those three things, of course,
Mhm.
right? Now, when the people get aligned with that and they understand where do they fall? I want all this stuff. We all want stuff. We want to be everybody. We want to make money, millions. Yeah, I want the lifestyle. Got it. But wait a minute. Am I willing to put extra hours in and not have my, complete family days? And I gave up so much to do what I did when I first started my business and
Mhm.
newly single before the other iteration when I was teaching offline, all sorts of businesses, offline marketing and business consulting. And I was also executive leadership coach, blah, blah, blah. I spent 2 years working from 7 p.m. till midnight every day, every weekday. And I didn't watch any media. My whole life was taking care of my kids and working. It was 7 till 7, kids, because they were young. Park, play
Yeah.
dates, this little tiny bit of work, maybe 7 till midnight, because I understood I needed to put the reps in. I was prepared to do that. It was very hard. I was exhausted and sleep deprived for years, but I knew I had to do it. And I'm not saying I have the hardest life ever. This is a personal example. And that was the first iteration. Then the second one, when I got online, I was working 16 hours a week to try to figure this out. So that's the quick
Mm.
question. Um, what do you want? Are you truly willing to do whatever it takes to get it? If not, give it up and have a nice life. It's all good.
Yeah.
If you are, then do it. Get help.
Well, I think one of the things that's you really hit the nail on the head, and it's something that I really believe is that, and we see this a lot. This recordings around the January timeframe, and people start the new year with all of the I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and they all have the motivation to do it. The biggest thing, that the transition that happens, is that motivation has to be backed by discipline,
Mm-hmm.
because discipline shows up when motivation doesn't. And I think that's extremely important message for people to realize, is that you can dream big, but if you don't follow up with big action, you're going to end up with smaller goals, and you're going to start to adjust your goals. And my belief is always this, is that when you set a goal, never adjust it down, just always adjust your actions.
Mm.
Set your goal, like set a big hairy target, like make it a BHAG target, right? And set that goal, but then make your actions match it. And that's the way that even if you fell slightly lower, even if you did, like, let's just say the worst case scenario, your deficit is you're slightly lower than your big hairy goal, you're probably going to be okay with that.
Right.
Right. Because you got way above what you thought was even possible. And I always challenge people. I'm like, well, maybe you're going to hit your goal. Maybe it just takes a little bit longer. That's the biggest thing. I think Warren Buffett says most people overestimate what they're going to do in 1 year, but underestimate what they're going to do in 5. So maybe your goal is the right goal. Just your lens of the time it took to get there is a little bit
right.
longer.
And
you're going to hit the goal.
And you're right about discipline, but you cannot be disciplined if you don't want it enough. Because if the motivation isn't there to be disciplined, that's hard. You know? Now, how I started the new year was this. I front load it. I don't do resolutions. I front load it. I thought, you know what? I'm launching my podcast January 1st. And you know, I just told you I front loaded that. We are dropping 60 episodes. We have 59 episodes in the can already. Okay. I just need one.
Beautiful.
So that was it. I thought that already started. And then you know what? I was watching a documentary on January 1st about it's called What the Health. And I decided, oh, I'm going to go plant-based right now. Right now, I'm going to go plant-based. I was almost, but I'm going to do it, except for a little here and there, you know, like like not grass-fed, wild salmon here and there. And I take collagen. And I just did it. I didn't sit around. I'm done. We're done. I saw that. I thought, why am I eating dairy and any kind of chicken? Why? Jeanne Omlor. I thought, oh my gosh, so obvious. I'm not saying you have to be plant-based. I don't judge the way people eat, just me, right? Not judging, just my personal thing. Then I said to myself, I want to get in the best shape of my life because I'm going to be 59 this year. So I hired a personal trainer. Just did it. So it wasn't even like, oh, I'm going to do this. It just, it was like a flow, just a flow. You know, already January 19th, podcast, which we've dropped already 25, 30 episodes already or more. Okay. Personal trainer. And I changed my diet. Boom. People, we don't do things enough. We sit around thinking about it. That's the problem.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think speed is everything. And I think a lot of times when people start things, they want it perfect. And I think speed beats planning every day, all day. Because what will happen is if you go speed and you just get stuff out with massive action, what's going to happen is that massive action and speed is going to give you a lens into seeing all the things that you need to fix that you wouldn't have seen if you try to plan on something you've never done before. So it's better to just get out there and do those things because then you can explore all the mistakes you're going to make. Now, you can get a hall pass on that by getting a coach who's already made those mistakes because they're going to hall pass you to the front of the line because they're going to look at what you're doing and say, probably shouldn't do that, probably shouldn't do that, probably shouldn't do that. And I know shooting on clients is not the best thing when it comes to coaching, but giving them optics as to what the cost of making those decisions might be if they choose those paths. And so the idea is if you get in massive action, either through the lens of working with a coach or through just doing it yourself, because look, not everybody has a budget for a coach. You know, they can't get it and they just got to get out there and do things. Well, just get out and do something. Like, even if it's from a health perspective, get out and go for a walk every day.
Right.
If it's from a health perspective, cut out the things that are killing you. Like cut the booze out, cut the, the going to McDonald's every day.
Right.
And just start making those things happen. And if you start making those, you don't need a coach to tell you not to eat McDonald's.
No, you don't.
You know, you just do it. And the same thing in your business. You don't need a coach to tell you is pick up the phone and call somebody. You know, get onto your Instagram and start messaging people that you know and talking to them. Like get out and reach to people. You don't need a coach to tell you that. Now, sometimes you need a coach to keep up the discipline because like, hey, do that 15th burpee.
Right.
You know, that's really important. Yeah. But it's the idea that you should inherently, a lot of the fundamentals that we teach, they're fundamentals that people would already know to do. You know, get a podcast. We all know getting a podcast is powerful. You recorded 60 episodes. And the reason why you did that is you know it's a powerful direction for people to go. So you just did it. And so I think the big thing that, you know, you can really impart is that you just do things.
Right. And you know, it's funny. We are so aligned because one of my parts of my branding is massive, messy action. MMA. Yes. I call it the mixed martial arts, MMA.
I love both of those.
That is how I got where I am because I did not think about being perfect at all. So to the point that people are like, do you think you're going to get some branding at some point? I'm like, I'm good. I'm making millions of dollars, you know, finally got it. You know, it bothered people that everything was so messy. Like my lead magnets, I would just do them on a Google Doc and they were really ugly. I said, well, you know what? I made $1 million on that lead mag alone. So the thing is, people worry far too much about what other people think about them. And I'm not saying branding's not important. I'm not saying that, but it's definitely not as important as massive, messy action, because I've proven that. I've proven that I didn't go spend $50,000 on branding, because a lot of that branding, it's a facade. There is nothing behind a lot of people's branding. My thing is authenticity, moving towards very solid branding that's lived in and it's developed as you go. That's good branding, and then, oh, sure, I'll do a photo shoot because I know what my alignment is now, So I agree with you. Do something. I don't have a health coach. I'm in pretty good health. It was just I watched a documentary and I was already really healthy. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I just go the extra mile? Because I don't really want to drink milk that has pus in it anymore. And by the way, they've proven that cutting out all dairy and all meat basically can cure cancer and diabetes. So, why wouldn't I aim for optimal health at this point? I'm 50. I'm not going to turn 59. I thought, you know what? In the late 50s, things are less forgiving. So I thought, I've got to front load. I love front loading. And I don't eat meat anyway, but I was eating chicken and turkey. And I thought, no more. So it's like, what do you want? I want optimal health. So then I thought, well, then I work out anyway. And I thought I should get a trainer just to make sure that I'm doing things properly and I'm going to be, more toned, because I get lazy. So having a trainer, doing the reps, they're like, do the reps. Okay. Wouldn't have done them myself. Totally. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. So, but the thing is, you can do something. It doesn't mean you're going to get the results if you don't have a coach, but I truly believe, because I always invested in a coach, no matter how broke I was. None of us, the people that are paying high ticket are not always the people that have tons of money already. They're the people that see the value, that their troubles are going to be solved and they're going to find that money. Okay. This is a myth.
Well, it's a skip the line.
It's a myth.
Right?
You have to find
it
wealthy
allows you
people.
to skip the line from the problems that you have, because at the end of the day, people are always going to have challenges. And I always look as a coach, what they've done is they've invested in their business, usually either by having a coach or by making all those mistakes. And what are those mistakes? It costs them a lot of time or it costs them a lot of money. And I call that an investment when you're a coach, because if I made this mistake and I can share that mistake with somebody else, so they don't have to, it means that I've sort of shared the burden of that cost with somebody
Absolutely.
else.
And
and so therefore I don't have
exactly.
to absorb it all
I see
myself.
it that way. I pay a lot of coaches for everything, just to get an answer, so I can say, my motivation is to help me and my clients. I'm like, I'm going to learn that so that my clients don't have to hire that coach. And here's the answer. It's about it. There is a shortcut. People say there's no shortcut. Yeah, there are shortcuts, but you still have to do the work. But there are shortcuts, because if I'm muddling around in the mud and not knowing what to do, why wouldn't I hire that coach that's already done it, get me out of the mud and show me the pathway? Right? So I feel like if people really, really want something, like I was investing in coaches when I was in deep debt. I just shared that with you. I didn't say, oh, I'm already in debt, I can't. I was said to myself, wow, I got to really get the show on the road. I'm 54. How much time do I have left? Now, if not now, one of my mottos is, if not now, when? That's my motto. Not now, when? When? In 2 weeks, a week, a month, a year? When, Jeanne? Now. There's no time like the now. That's how I see it.
Yep. And there was another one, and I think it was Jocko Willink who said this, where he said, one day or day one. And you've got to kind of hit that. And I love that. I love that mentality, because it's just, to me, is it going to be one day or is it going to be day one? You pick.
Yeah.
Right. And you are definitely in the day one category. We're going to agree on a lot of things. We're going to disagree. I love my red meat. And I just did an interview with a guy who talks about sell the sizzle. And we said sizzle. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to have a really good steak. And so, each body's 100%. A little bit different, so we all react differently.
Yeah.
And but on a lot of the other elements, I'm so glad to hear such an alignment around the idea of massive, your words, messy action. And I agree with that. I think that is a great model to have. And I'm super appreciative.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been wonderful.
So, Jeanne, let's talk about the way that people can reach out and connect with you to learn a little bit more.
Sure. We're going to have in the show notes my website page with my reviews, and people can see what my clients are doing, because I'm very it's not about me. It's about the flow through to my clients. I talk more about my client results than mine because that's what's important. So that's a great page because it's all about that. And also, my name is Jeanne Omlor on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. I'm all over the place now. I built that up.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure chatting with you today. And thank you for spending
Also,
some
my
time.
podcast.
Yes.
I forgot about that. We'll give you the link. I know.
You cannot forget about your podcast.
Wealth, Impact, and we'll give you the link to it as well.
I love it. I love it. Well, Jeanne, thank you very much for joining us on the Money Mindset Mentoring Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.